I was a kid, and I come from Assam. So there's this small city in Assam, a small town called Lanka. Not Sri Lanka, Lanka. Okay, and I was there, and there was a time when me and my family, we moved to the biggest city in the state, which is Guwahati, which also happens to be the capital of our state. So just like any other kid, I was very excited to move into a big city and, meet new people. But little did I know that I was kind of a misfit in that whole atmosphere. I would go out to mingle with people, make new friends, like any other young boy want to play cricket or something. But nobody was actually interested in, befriending me or playing with me because I never really understood the reason. They never explicitly said anything, but it was quite evident that maybe, I was not up to their status or standard or whatever their common notions were to befriend someone. And it happened for quite some time, and I remember one day coming back home and, really sad and upset, and I was crying to my mother, and just like in any other Indian mother, she said, fault must be yours. But after a point, I said, no, you know what, I have tried everything, but maybe, I am not up to their level, and maybe I'm not good enough. And at that moment, my mother said something to me which really has stuck with me for a very long period of my life till now, is that she told me that nobody in this world can tell you that you are not good enough if you are trying to be the best version of yourself. Because if you are trying to be the best version of yourself, that you know it in your heart that whatever you are doing is the best. And nobody can demean you, nobody can pull you down, nobody can tell you that you are less, because you believe in your heart that you have done your 100% and you are doing it with utmost honesty. And I remember I was very small, must be somewhere around 8 or 9 years old, and in a very dramatic fashion I said that, you know what, they don't want to befriend me. It's fine. I am happy the way I am, and maybe there would be a time when they would come to me and they would want to spend time and they would want to befriend me, and maybe I won't be interested. And trust me, that happened. It took some time, but it happened. And I feel that that's how life is. It is about, unexpected things happening all the time. We all keep planning things. We all keep thinking about what to do, what not to do. But that's why, they say that life happens to you when you are trying to plan other things. And that's the most beautiful part about exploring our journey. Throughout my school career, I was not very studious, but I somehow managed to get good grades. Not the bright student or the topper kind, but I used to get good grades. But what I was extremely into was a lot of co-curricular activities. I loved meeting people, I loved talking, I loved debating, I loved, giving speeches, etc. And although I was very good at it and I was roaming around the country doing this, my professors and my parents, though supportive, but were not quite keen on me doing it for a long time because they felt that somehow it will affect my academics. But let me tell you something, I'm an extremely stubborn person. If I decide to do something, I will just not stop until I feel that I am satisfied and I have achieved it. So I continued at it. They were right. It did affect my academics. When I completed my 12th boards in CBSE, I was one of the national toppers and I scored 100 in sociology. And this is not even the most fascinating part of it. The most fascinating part about this whole story is the fact that out of 10 people who topped in their respective subjects and scored 100 in a 12th board exam where lakhs and lakhs of students take part, 6 out of them were students who were like me, who were always participating in events. One girl who scored 100 in sociology, she studied in Xavier's in Bombay later, and she's in London right now. That girl was participating in an event even one day before her examination. So that was kind of a way which I realized that each and every experience that we gather by meeting people, by doing things, exploring newer stuff helps a lot in our life. And nothing goes waste, especially when you do something from your heart, something that you really want to do, something that you are really ambitious about. It would always pay dividends no matter what. And it really helped me because I was meeting so many people. I had a different worldview. I was much more liberal in my thought process. And when I finally came to Bombay after completing my 12th boards, it was again the same story as my childhood, coming from a small place to a big place. So I entered my college where I didn't know a single soul. So it's like entering a new place with nobody of your knowledge, and you are supposed to again explore, make friends, make like a new family. And that happened. And I must say that I would like to thank two of my professors, Mrs. Manjula Srinivas and Mrs. Sudha Ravishankar, because my attendance in college is sort of, it's a story of legends because in one semester I had 0% attendance, and I don't think that anybody in this country can get away with that but me. And today, whatever I am, I owe hugely to these two professors because Manjula ma'am happens to be the HOD of KC College BMM, and Sudha Ravishankar was the senior most professor back then, and they really helped me and supported me because I was always busy working. I was, doing some internship somewhere, in some company, in some newspapers. I explored everything. Initially, I was very interested in journalism. So right from print to broadcast to radio to magazines, I didn't leave out anything. So by the time I completed the last internship that I did before started working, they told me, listen, we have seen your face so many times in all the possible media buildings, now stop. Maybe explore something else. And that's exactly what I have been doing all my life. I mean, I really take a lot of pride and joy in being one of the youngest. I might not be the youngest, but one of the youngest to do certain things. Like, I mean, even in this gathering that we have today, we have such illustrious people with amazing body of work talking to you. And again, I happen to be the youngest, right? So that's how things have been. And I have always tried to do different things. So I wrote a book called Footprints of Life, which was my debut novel. It's so interesting because there was this incident which was of national importance, which happened and which really shook the country. And I was totally fascinated with that story. So much so that I used to talk about it all the time. And, I used to talk to my family, my friends, and my friends were clearly not interested. Because, you are 16, 17 and you are boys, so they have the boy talk and nobody was interested in it. But they used to somehow tolerate me. There was a day when there's this friend of mine called Anshuman. So I was going on and on and on about it, and he was so frustrated. He's just like, wait, stop. If you are so interested in it, go and write a book about it. Though he said it out of frustration and as a passing, I thought that, okay, maybe that's not a bad idea. I might try writing a book on it. I still remember I was just 16 when I completed my 10th board exam, and I happened to be in Delhi in my maternal aunt's place, and I decided to dig in and research. And although, there have been a lot of incidences and experiences while researching the book, one incident which, was very funny. So I happened to visit the school of this person on whom I was researching, and I got an appointment with the principal, and this is like a very posh school in Delhi, okay, one of the poshest schools in Delhi. And I got the appointment saying that, I'm supposed to research on a book, and it was already a controversial subject, so she was hesitant, but she gave in. When I entered the room and, she got up with full excitement because it was like, creaking of the door and I was entering. And then she saw me. So she stopped midair, okay? And she was looking me from top to bottom. And even before asking me to take a chair, she is like, are you sure you are the person who is supposed to do the interview and, research on the book? Because I don't believe you. I don't trust you. Yeah, so I researched on it, and, once I was done researching, I did take some time to start writing it because the findings were not only gripping, but at the same time quite disturbing to me. So I took my own sweet time to start writing it. And the funny part is, like, I haven't shared this with anybody, but so I completed my book when I was 18. And 70% of the book I wrote during my 12 board, exams, because we used to have like a long holiday, okay, like a study leave of 2 months, 3 months. And how much will you study? I mean, it's okay, you have the entire day study, but how much to study? So I decided that, okay, I have this entire day sitting at home, and we all have Indian parents, so you are not really allowed to go out and do too many things, no matter how liberal they are. So I was sitting at home, so I made it a point that every night at 10 o'clock, no matter what happens, I would sit in front of my desktop and I'll start writing my novel. And that's how I completed my first book, Footprints of Life. Then it took some time, and around when I was 19 is when I finally published it. And there's this publisher called General Press India from Delhi who showed a lot of interest, and I published it with almost no aspirations, because, the experience of holding your book, like the physical copy of your book, especially your first book, is an experience which cannot be expressed in words, because it is something that you need to feel. It's like delivering your first child. When you hold your first child, that experience is so divine that it can't be expressed in words. And later on, it went on becoming like a bestseller, and all that happened. And there was they called me one of the youngest, again, writers in the country doing well. So that thought of being the youngest again in the writing field was also fulfilled. Time moved, and eventually I have a very strong connection from Gujarat, because I did my first documentary, The Gujarat Promise, here, and I did in 2014, and I did travel the nooks and corner of the state, and I covered a lot of issues. By the end of it, while I was really proud of it, because it took a lot of effort and hard work to make it, not everyone was quite happy with the findings, and there was a lot happening. There were death threats and hate mails, and people on broad daylight in Ahmedabad, people have run behind me with all sorts of weapons, with the thought of killing me. I somehow escaped. I really thank one rickshaw guy who was standing there who took me out. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here narrating the story to you. And I say it with a really heavy heart that eventually, due to some antisocial elements, they confiscated the entire thing. And at this moment, I don't have even one single copy of that documentary, which took more than a year to make and so much of hard work. But, this atmosphere of hate, this atmosphere of, curbing freedom of expression and not letting your opinion go out because it differs from somebody else's opinion is taking over the country right now. And it is so important to address, because it is not only taking over in general, it is taking over on social media as well. And I would like to come in because, trolling has become such a huge part of social media today that even if you are trying to put forward an honest opinion on social media, you will be labeled, right? If you say a certain kind of thing, you will be labeled as, okay, you are from X category, or you are from Y category, or you are from Z category, which is so unfortunate, because you are just trying to put forward your opinion. Like, we all have differences in terms of our opinion. I think that's the beauty of our country. Like, our country is not a country which believes in dividing people. Our country is a country where, we believe in uniting people and going forward, meeting everyone, diverse. There's so much diversity in our country. I mean, look at me. I am a Bengali from Assam, which happens to be in the Northeast, studied in Bombay, and now delivering a TED Talk here in Gujarat. I mean, what can be more fascinating than this simple journey with just one individual? And think about so many billions of stories which, are coming up each and every day in this country. So I feel that the most important aspect of social media which needs to be curbed in a big way is trolling, because I formed my social media agency, Little Monk, at the age of 22. And, let me tell you, I was mocked at. I was laughed at. People said I have gone crazy because I had just been working, for 2 years, and they said, you want to open an agency? Like, that too in Bollywood, which runs totally on networking? No, taboo, not going to work out. But when somebody tells me not going to work out, I become more stubborn. So I said, okay, let me try. So I started, and I started the company with, reaching out to one director in Bollywood. And within 6 months, I had 25 top clients from Bollywood, which had A-lister celebrities, directors, photographers, actors, you name it, and we had it. And it was a very interesting and fascinating journey for me, because while I started approaching people, I realized that over a period of time, when I have been working and doing internships in so many places, I have met so many people who actually loved me. They were willing to take those risks. They were willing to engage with me. They were willing to try out whether I'd be good enough or not. And that is what really counts. You doing whatever you do from your heart is what is going to take you forward in life. Don't do something which somebody else is telling you to do. I was never the bracketed topper student in my school, but I happened to top in 12 boards. And the people who actually topped, I mean, they are doing something. Not to take away from their hard work, but fact remains that, okay, I must say this, that there was this one guy who was, again in the topper category, who everyone thought will end up becoming a doctor, and he also aspired to become a doctor, by the way. But that was not what he wanted. That was something that people told him he should do at that point. So he was aiming for that. Today, that guy is an extremely successful fashion designer. He passed his science stream, he did a BSc, then he disappeared for 2 years, and then now I came to know that he has become a fashion designer. So clearly, he has followed his path after he realized that, okay, whatever I was doing, I was not doing for myself, but I was doing for somebody else. Please don't do that, because you know what? Everyone will tell you that, how do you measure success? You measure success by fame, you measure success by money, you measure success by recognition. But let me tell you, these are not the parameters on which you should measure success. Of course, these are important. These are very important aspects in life. But the only thing that matters the most is your inner peace. What gives you satisfaction at the end of the day after you do your job? No matter how hard you have worked, no matter how much time you have taken, but it actually gives you a lot of satisfaction. That is the work that you should do. That is the work that you are meant to do, and that is the work in which you will excel, shine, and do wonderfully well, and not what people are telling you that you need to do. Don't get bracketed in a particular category. Don't think that, okay, if you have scored an X number, you need to go to an X stream and follow an X career path. No. You know your talents. Sit down. One day, just take 1 hour, do self-introspection and write 5 things that you are good at. If in no time you would realize that you have 5 career options that you can excel in, which you would actually enjoy doing, and not because somebody else is telling you to do it. So it is very important, and I cannot stress over this fact over and over again, because I am extremely proud of my ambitions. I feel we all should be extremely ambitious, and I'm very shameless in that matter, and I take a lot of pride in everything that I do, because I feel at least I'm trying, right? I might not be the best, but at least I'm somewhere. And I come from the Northeast, and I take a lot of pride in being a Northeastern, because for me being a Northeaster, then identity comes first, irrespective of my caste, irrespective of my creed, irrespective of my religion. And that is how we all should be. We should take pride in things that matter. So to conclude, I would like to say, chase your dreams, carve out your niche, and celebrate your individuality. Thank you.